Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Grey Man Night podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Chris Nugent. Great to have you back on the show, Chris.
Good to be back, Kyle. Good to be back. It's been a wee while.
As indeed, I think it was the Carabao Cup finals the last time you were on. Um, yeah, so
It's
it's
true,
it's
yeah, right enough.
great to have you on. I think maybe it's only the third time in 2023 you've been on. You've been a busy man, Chris, but you're back on, and hopefully this will be the first of a few times this summer. Um, So I'm broadcasting live from Manchester here. I was just at the game against Fulham, last game of the season in the league. We won 2-1. Goals from Sancho and Bruno. A lot of missed chances from United again, but also a penalty save from David De Gea, and I was only 7 or 8 roads back to witness that. Um,
That's a
yeah,
collector's
it's
item,
been
that, Kyle.
certainly is. Maybe I should be in attendance more often, and then maybe De Gea will save more penalties. I'll have to get to Wembley next week.
Absolutely, Kyle. Absolutely. Get yourself a season ticket for next year and get the plenty of games, and hopefully it'll be a good luck charm for Mister De Gea.
Yeah, certainly could be. Although there is the outside chance that that could have been his last appearance at Old Trafford. I certainly think it was Harry Maguire's last appearance at Old Trafford. Um, Decent display from Maguire in his last game for United at Old Trafford. I think he enjoys a physical battle with centre forwards that are similar in size to him. And he enjoyed the physical battle with Mitrovic, and I think he did really well in that respect. So, a very much a respectable last game for Maguire as captain of Manchester United at Old Trafford. So overall, Chris, what did you think of the performance?
Not bad, Kyle. Yeah, you summed it up pretty well there. I think we could have had a few more. We looked reasonably comfortable. Thought we defended pretty well, like you said. I think everybody defended pretty well. I thought Malacia was pretty good. Dallo didn't make anything glaringly obvious that would make him stand out and not have a good performance. So yeah, I thought he was good. And Maguire was pretty solid. And Lindelof as well. Yeah, thought it was a pretty good game. Yeah, we looked a bit slow and putting away chances, like you said, Kyle. But overall, I thought it was a fairly steady performance. And pretty good finish to the season.
Before we get into the United goals, Chris, you might be able to help me out here because Fulham scored from a set piece. I can only see it once, being behind the goal. Didn't really catch who lost the Fulham player for the goal. Who was responsible for that goal, Chris?
I can't remember, Kyle. I have to be honest and say I can't actually remember myself. Um, let me just see if I can get something. I can't actually remember, to tell you the truth,
Maybe,
Kyle.
yeah, it was Kenny Tate's early header that put Fulham ahead. Um, Not quite sure who lost him there, who was marking him. Because that could be important for player ratings later in the later in the show.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
let me check it out. I remember the time seeing it and going, "Oh, that was really poor," but I can't remember now off the top of my head who it was. Let me just check it, Kyle. I can have a wee
um,
look here.
maybe someone in the comments could help us out there, please. So just while we're checking that out, um, United obviously scored just before half time. Jane Sancho, after some good work by Fred. I think Fred effectively got 2 assists today. With a tackle on him, and the ball fell to Sancho to poke it in. And then a lovely setup from Fred for Bruno Fernandes's goal. We dink over the goalkeeper just in front of me. Um, I think Fred had one of his better games today, but I think next week he's going to have to take it up another level if we're going to win the FA Cup. So, you pleased with Fred's performance today, Chris?
I am, Kyle. That ball through for the Fernandez goal was, I have to say, was absolutely top drawer. I think I texted you and said he was channeling his inner Christian Eriksen with that one. Unbelievable pass, great vision, surprisingly from him. Yeah, I thought he played quite well today. Like you say, Kyle. I mean, not exactly up against the absolute top quality opposition, but yeah, I thought he was pretty assured. And to say that ball through was perfect, good vision and unbelievably well executed. And a great finish, obviously, from Fernandez as well. Just a wee cheeky dink, just brilliant. Yeah, I thought Fred was pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes you just never know what you're going to get from Fred. It can be the sublime or it could be the ridiculous. Today was probably closer to the sublime, and next week he's going to have to be on his A game. He's going to have to produce the same kind of performance that he produced against Manchester City at Old Trafford in January. He's going to have to do something similar, maybe even better. The City have taken their game up a notch since then. Um, so before we talk about that, yes, we were solid at the back. I think Rashford missed a chance or two, but he was certainly lively in the game. It's a pity he didn't get his 31st goal of the season, but 30 is a hell of a return for any United player in a single season, and especially after he had a pretty dire season last year. So hopefully he gets 31 or 32 before the season is officially over, if you catch my drift.
Fingers
Um,
crossed. Fingers crossed.
yeah, and it was another positive display from Jadon Sancho, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought Sancho was good. I thought he was good, Kyle, but he still frustrates me slightly. I have to say, I find that I just still want to see more from him. I think he's got a lot more ability than he's shown in his time at United so far. And I feel like he's the kind of player that could take a game by the scruff and really have a big impact on it. But it's not that often that he does that for United. So yes, I thought he had a good game. Totally agree with you. But I do still find myself feeling like there's a wee bit more in there than what he's showing. I'd like to see him just be a wee bit more impactful on games, I have to say.
Yeah, I think the improvement is steady. I think there's a lot more to come, but he's playing a lot better than he was maybe 6 weeks ago. Um, he's getting the odd goal, he's getting the odd assist, and the progress, like I say, is very slow. Um, but I am reasonably happy with what he's producing. Again, like Fred, he's going to have to take it up another notch if he's going to start against Manchester City. Um, and it would do wonders for his confidence if he managed to get a goal or an assist in that game. So, yeah, I think there's reasons to be optimistic about Sancho. Some people have lost patience with him completely, but on the basis of what I've seen in recent games, I would definitely give him another season. Would you go along with that, Chris?
100%, Kyle. Absolutely. No, like I say, I really do think he's a great player. I think that he's got a lot of ability. Um, and I feel like it's maybe a bit of a psychological thing or whatever it is. But I think that under Ten Hag, and I do obviously, I know we'll talk probably about the manager later on, but I highly rate Ten Hag, and I think that he can get plenty out of players, and I think he himself will recognise the qualities that Sancho has, and I think that he'll be looking to for him to kick on. So I hope that next year, it'll start to come together for him, and he'll do that. No, yeah, I think I think he's a good player, and like you say, I think he is progressing and getting a little bit better. So no, I would be very disappointed if he wasn't here next year. I have to say, no, I think Sancho is he's got a wee bit of credit in the bank, and I think he hopefully yeah, hopefully next year will be a better year for him.
Yeah, and even if he's not the manager's first pick next season, you need options. I mean, look at City; they've got six or seven, players to choose from across the front. Only three can start, and City have probably got four on the bench. Those are the kind of options that we need. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, 100%, Kyle. That's exactly it. And it is those kind of games when against a team like Man City, when you do need quality. It's not just about hard work and kind of organization. You need sometimes a little bit of quality and to beat teams like that. And Sancho, in fairness to him, has got that in his locker where he can provide that little moment of quality. Where he'll just do something. You go, oh, that's just magnificent. And I think that is the kind of options you need off the bench, in big games. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's the kind of player you can bring on and hope that he'll maybe get to that wee minute of quality. So yeah, no, he's a good option to have.
Yeah, we're seeing glimpses of what we saw when he was playing in yellow for Dortmund, but I think there's a lot more to come. And just on Dortmund, it was so unfortunate yesterday that they blew their chance to win the Bundesliga. They only had to beat mid-table Mainz at home, and they couldn't manage to do that. So Bayern won 11 titles in a row. Although there were
Yeah.
certain diehard United fans who were happy to see it, because I believe Dortmund's anthem is "You'll Never Walk Alone," and for that reason alone, some United fans are quite happy with the how it panned out yesterday.
I didn't even know that, but I can understand. I can understand. Yep, fair enough. Fair enough.
So I just had a look there to see who it was who lost Kenny Tete for the Fulham goal, and would you believe it was Marcus Rashford?
Oh,
Um,
right. Okay. Fair enough. I do. That surprised me. I remember watching it and thinking, oh, he got a free header there, but I didn't realize it was Rashford. Yeah. yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
There was something really bizarre that I noticed during set pieces. Was that Jadon Sancho was marking one of Fulham centre backs, and his Fulham centre back is a big guy. Like, I think it was Isaiah Diop. He's a massive centre back, and Sancho was marking him. Who comes up with these ideas?
You do wonder, don't you? Do wonder sometimes, don't you? Like, I mean, I can only assume it was a plan, but what the rationale behind that plan is definitely beyond me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mind-boggling one there from Eric Ramsey, the set pieces coach. I don't get that one at all. And I've seen United do that before. I've seen Christian Eriksen mark big centre forwards from corners, like
You do
marking.
wonder. I
I've
know you
seen
wonder.
Eriksen mark Erling Holland from a corner. Christian
Yeah.
Eriksen.
I know it just doesn't seem. I mean, what can you? The only thing you can do is get in their road. Really, it's not easy get in their way. You know what I mean, and kind of nudge them a wee bit or put them off. You're never gonna get up and win the ball. Unless you've got a leap on you like Michael Jordan, which isn't gonna happen. So yeah, it's a strange one.
So what about Wout Weghorst? Another very disappointing moment in front of goal. It would have been another assist for Sancho, by the way, had he scored that. It was an easy chance at the back post, and he spooned it, and I could see he had his head in his hands, laying on the turf for quite about 10 seconds. I think he was absolutely devastated that he didn't score on his final appearance at Old Trafford. But that about summed up his 6 months at United. He's just simply not good enough in front of goal, is he?
Do you know what? That's exactly it. I like the guy. You know what? I like him. I like a lot of things about him, but you know, uh, he can't finish. He really can't finish. He just spurns chance after chance after chance. I mean, not today did not even hit the target from there. Great ball in, not under massive pressure from anybody really, and he couldn't even hit the target from what? How many yards out? A few yards out. That's no. He's a good guy. He works hard. I don't think he's Man United quality. He's not. You're not going to win things with him playing up front for you, are you? Like so. Yeah. I'll be happy enough to see him go. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that his ability doesn't match his personality and his endeavour. Yeah, I think we're going to be moving on from him in the summer. He was just a stopgap option because the Glazers were not going to provide any money whatsoever in the January market. So that was the best we could do really. Because Ronaldo did not want to be a substitute. So we had to bring in a very low cost centre forward option. I mean, he was a guy that he only scored 2 goals at Burnley. Um, I've no idea how he managed 9 goals in half a season in Turkey. Does he play by himself in that league or something?
The defenders must do what they've been doing for Ronaldo, just rolling over for him and just kind of letting him through or something. Or the goalkeepers maybe just standing out of his way. I don't know. At the Premier League level, he can't hit a barn door. I don't know how he scored anywhere else. Well, fair enough.
So Alejandro Garnacho finally started a game. He came off relatively early. A lot of people came off in this game, and I think that was a signal of who's going to start in the cup final. A lot of the important players came off, like Rashford and Casemiro, Garnacho, Fred. A lot of these players came off and early in this game, probably to protect them, make sure they don't get injured. Bruno as well, make
Yep.
sure they don't get injured ahead of the cup final. So I could see what the rationale was from Ten Hag there, and I think the fact that Fred came off is a big giveaway that he's going to play in this final. I've been thinking for weeks that we're going to play a compact midfield, like we did in the last game against City, where Fred partners Casemiro as the two defensive midfielders, and then probably Ericsson at number 10 and Bruno on the right, and then two kind of out and out attackers. I think Rashford obviously be one of them, but I think that other spot is probably up for grabs. Barney Anthony could be back for this game. Sancho and Martial, so and obviously Garnacho. So there's four players there that are vying for one spot effectively in the final, I think. So
Yep.
it'll be
Yep.
interesting one to see who Ten Hag selects.
Yeah, I think you're not far off the mark there, Kyle. Yeah, and I think that tactic kind of makes sense for obvious reasons. Kevin De Bruyne, particularly, is just a ridiculous threat, as we all know. So I think we're going to have to do everything we can to try and reduce his effect on the match. So yeah, I think those two together hopefully will do a bit of a job. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we cannot give them space whatsoever to operate. We have to close them down and cut off the spaces. No doubt, Fred will be he'll be all over the place. He'll cover every single blade of grass. throwing himself into tackles and winning the ball, hopefully. And
getting in people's way, and yeah, that's it. And that's what he's good at. So yeah, if he does it in that game, which hopefully he will, I'll be happy enough. Yeah. So
well, he's done it against City already, and he done it in both games against Barcelona. So you can't turn around and say that he doesn't have the ability to play at the top level. He's got it in his locker. It's just you just never know if he's going to do it or not. There's two Freds. There's the one who's absolutely awful, and there's the one who's absolutely brilliant. And
yeah,
there's
totally
if
agree.
we're going to win next week, the one that's brilliant is the one who has to turn up.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. And I think that goes for everybody in the squad. I think next week is, for obvious reasons, a humongous game. It's even bigger now. City are looking like a bit of a juggernaut at the minute, and I do not want them to win the treble at all, as no United fan does. So this is our opportunity to spoil a party, and yeah, we need everybody to be on absolutely top form. So hopefully that will happen.
I kind of sidebarred a wee bit there when I was talking about Garnacho. So just wanted to get your thoughts on Garnacho's performance today. Am I right in saying that he hit the crossbar at the scoreboard end?
He did, yeah, he did hit the crossbar. Yeah, it was unfortunate actually. Yeah, just a couple of inches down, and it would have been in. I don't think the keeper had any chance at all getting anywhere near it. So yeah, he did. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, Kyle. Yeah, I like Garnacho. I think he's a good player. I think he had a pretty good performance today. Again, I think he's a young guy. I think he has it in his locker to have a lot more impact on games, a bit like Sancho. But he's young. You can't expect him to be a massive player week in, week out, just at this stage of his career, I think. But he's an excellent player. I think that he makes good decisions as well, which I always think is one of the most important things for a young player, because we so often we see young players who have got lots of ability, lots of pace, great on the ball, and their decision making is poor, and they have to mature into getting that. Whereas I feel like Garnacho kind of already has that. He's got that maturity about him. I think he always makes good decisions. It's rare that I'll find myself frustrated with him. Maybe he holds on to the ball too long sometimes, but bar that, yeah, I think he's very good, and he was good, pretty good again today. Yeah, he always looks quite threatening. So yeah, no, I thought he had a good game, and generally I rate him pretty highly, I have to say. Yeah,
Yeah, you only have to look at the reception he gets from the crowd, whether his name is called out when he's starting the game or when he's coming on as a sub, to know how much the United fans value him. There's been a lot of chatter among some fans that he could be the best player in the world, and as Tom Simpson, who's on this podcast a few weeks ago, rightly pointed out, he doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be the Ballon d'Or winner. If he even is just as good as Ryan Giggs for Manchester United, he'll be a hell of a player, won't he? He doesn't have to be Mbappe, you know.
absolutely. People get carried away. I just find, and I know we do it. It's part of what we love about football. This guy's going to be this, and this guy's going to be that, and this is the thing I've always said about United, Kyle. We've built our success, throughout the entirety of the history of the club. Very rarely around one player. Yeah, we have had some unbelievable players over the years, and guys who have went on to win Ballon d'Ors, and people like George Best, and people like that. But in general, United always are just, I always feel our successful teams have been good teams, good units, So I don't think we don't need to have the world's best player in the team for it for us to be successful. So no, he doesn't need to be at all. If he's solid, if he, as I say, works hard, keeps himself fit, makes good decisions, and yeah, if he was half as good as Ryan Giggs, and have the kind of career that Giggs had, I mean, he would be phenomenal. He would go down as a club legend. So absolutely, we don't need to have the world's greatest player in our team. In fact, I would argue that maybe I'd rather not have the world's best player in the team, because everything, as you imagine, it comes with the ego. We've seen that, with Ronaldo and others, and that's often devastating to a good team unit. So I would probably, in some ways, rather not have the world's best player in the team, to tell you the truth.
And that's exactly the reason why I don't want Neymar coming to United. Not
No interest, doesn't interest me one bit.
not only his ego, but his injury record and his age doesn't appeal to me either. So
Not
definitely not
remotely.
for me.
Not remotely. Same. What would he be? He'd just be somebody to sell shirts, a big name to sell shirts. That's all he would be, in my opinion. No, I don't think we should go for somebody like Neymar. Absolutely not.
But if Ed Woodward was still there, we'd be snapping him up in a
Oh,
heartbeat.
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, to boost our Twitter followers, ratings, and whatever else. Yeah, exactly. That would about sum it up.
Yeah, we're very complimentary of Harry Maguire earlier in the show, but um, I think the penalty came from him playing a sloppy pass. giving the ball away. I think we were a bit desperate then in our defending, and then Casemiro, made a rash challenge and give away the penalty. But I think it came from Maguire losing possession.
I
Unfortunately,
think you're
although
right. Yeah.
I had to be fair to him and say I think he was good overall. He won his aerial duels. Um, he uh, he found a teammate most of the times. He was playing the ball out from the back, which is always a bonus. So at times I thought it was back to kind of the Solskjaer era where, when Maguire and Lindelof are playing together, they just seem to play to each other for about 5 minutes, and it gets really frustrating. Whereas when Varane and Martinez are playing, they move the ball forward a lot more quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, but I thought, yeah, it was the best version of Maguire is what we saw today. I think, despite that, so I wouldn't really blame Casemiro for giving away the penalty. We were kind of on a bit of a, it was like a 4-on-4 situation, a counter attack, and he did. I think the guy was about to get a shot away, and he had to make you know, a, a quick tackle to stop him. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
and
exactly. And I think Casemiro's a bit unlucky too. I think that he's wary of the referees, and I think the referees are slightly wary of him. And I think that he doesn't get a lot in terms of the rub of the green either. So, not saying that he should have got it there, but I think in general he gets a bit unlucky sometimes with fouls being given away against him. So yeah,
yeah,
can't blame him too much.
I wouldn't be that critical of the punishments dished out to Casemiro if it was consistency across the board. I've seen Casemiro being sent off for challenges, and then I've seen other games where there's been challenges that have been a lot worse and gone unpunished, and that really really frustrates me.
Same, same. That's exactly it, Kyle. And that makes Casemiro himself feel that he's being victimized. We did hear some rumblings that he was quite annoyed about how he thought he was getting treated, and you can see why. For exactly that reason, because he's probably sitting at home like us, watching the highlights of other games in the league that weekend, and going, "How the heck did that guy not get sent off? When I did, or how did he not get punished when I got a yellow card?" So you can understand how he feels.
Yeah, he never had a straight red in his whole career at Real Madrid. I think he was sent
Yeah,
off twice in nearly a decade at Real Madrid, but they were both situations where he got two yellows, and he got two straight reds in United in about 6 weeks.
you know,
Yeah, um,
incredible,
one
really, and just
one was
unbelievable.
one was ridiculous against Crystal Palace. He grabbed the guy by the collar and he was accused of choking the guy. When in actual fact, it was a Palace player who was choking a United player during the same incident, and that went unpunished. And then he was sent off against Crystal Palace, where he caught no, against Southampton. Sorry, he was sent off and he caught a player on the shins with the studs. But we've seen a dreadful tackle in the Leicester Chelsea game that weekend by Pereira, I think it was, and it went completely unpunished. So it's the lack of consistency that frustrates me with Casemiro. So
Totally
I
agree.
hope,
Totally agree. I was at that Palace game actually. That was the game that I was at, so I couldn't see it at the time because it was down the other end. But yeah, when I saw the replay later on, and when I saw the pictures, initially you looked at Casemiro and you thought, oh, it looks bad. But then, like you say, I saw the highlights of the match today, and one of the Palace players did was worse, and I thought this just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to send one player off, the other has to be sent off as well. I just can't see how Casemiro went and the Palace player didn't. So yeah, I mean, it's just like you say, lack of consistency. It's just not. It's not good.
yeah, when there's kind of a melee or a fracas, you can't just pick out one incident and just say
Totally,
we're going to red card that guy. There's going to be lots of wee duels going on potential red cards. So he's every right to feel victimized, Casemiro. But I hope he doesn't feel as if it's not happening for me in England. So I'm going to walk away here.
totally
Um,
agree with you. And that's my fear too. I really hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. That would be really disappointed if that was a reason for him to want to leave. I would be really disappointed. I have to say that. I really want him to stay.
yeah, I don't think so because I'm sure he appreciates the love he gets from the fans, and apart from the red card, he's been immense and he's been a real contributor with goals as well. From set pieces too, which could be crucial in the cup final. He did that in the Carabao Cup final, so if he could do that again, if a set piece from Shaw or Ericsson comes into the middle, you'd be banking on Casemiro to get on the end of it and get us a goal against City, like he's done many times this season.
one Hundred
Um,
percent. He's
um,
just great though. He's just brilliant all round, isn't he? Like he really is. I know we used the term a lot for Varane, saying he was a Rolls Royce of a defender. Casemiro's a Rolls Royce of a midfielder, in my opinion, as well. He's got absolutely everything. It's no coincidence the guy's won what 5 Champions Leagues or whatever it is he's won. There's no coincidence there at all. He is a top quality player. Everything he does is top quality. Even a shot he had today where the ball comes in, the defender's pretty tight to him, and he just chests it down, perfect position to get a shot away. I mean, he's just everything he does is quality. He's a top drawer player, I have to say.
Yeah, and what about that goal against Bournemouth? That's absolutely world class, wasn't it?
Absolutely phenomenal, just unbelievable. And you would look at him and wouldn't think that would be the kind of goal that he would score, but it just shows you the quality he's got. He can do everything really. He's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and at Real Madrid, he had a knack of scoring screamers from like 30 yards. If he could do that at Wembley, that would be amazing. I just love to see it because we're going to need big moments of quality to win this. So if he could fucking make the back of the net rustle from about 30 yards, that would be a great help to
Be
us.
incredible. Be absolutely incredible, yeah. And actually, in some ways, you could argue that's the type of goal we're potentially are going to need because they are going to dominate possession. They're going to be difficult to break down. They're good at winning the ball back. So, yeah, it you could argue that chances could potentially be limited. So, yeah, screamer maybe is what we'll need to get something out of that game. So, hopefully.
Yeah, like I said earlier to you when we were WhatsApping each other, in order for us to beat Manchester City in the cup final, we're going to need the back four to be immense. We're going to need Varane and Lindelof to be brick walls. We're going to need De Gea to make wonder saves. We're going to need Casemiro to dominate the midfield. And every time Rashford has a shot on target, he's going to have to find the back of the net. All those things are going to have to come together if we're going to win this game.
100%. We really are up against it. We really are up against it. Um, but it's a huge game, and I know it's difficult, with obviously you've a lot of foreign players in the team. It maybe doesn't, stop Man City winning the treble. Obviously, it will mean something to them, but not maybe as much as it does the us fans. But I hope that the gravity of the situation and what the game means. Is that it is a little bit more than just a cup final. Well, not just a cup final. A cup final is huge in itself, but there is that added extra of stopping City from winning the treble. So I really hope that they're up for it and everybody brings their A game, and is fully motivated. Because I say, fans will be very motivated, and I hope that translates into the players' mindsets on the day.
Let's be clear, we don't want City to win the Champions League either.
Well,
Um,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're right. But unfortunately, we have no control over that. But this one we do have some control over. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I totally agree.
but if you give me a situation right now where they win the Champions League and lose the FA Cup final, I think I would take it. What about you?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, yeah, I've almost resigned myself to the fact that they probably will win the Champions League. I hope they don't, but they probably will. But I do not want them to go and win the treble as well. Absolutely not. So yeah. And like I say, it wouldn't matter anyway. We want to win that game to win that cup, but there is that added extra that we really do not want City to win the treble. And if we can stop that, yeah, that's what we need to do.
Well, Wayne Rooney predicted that City would destroy Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League, which he was right about. And in his latest column in the Times, he thinks that the FA Cup final will be tight, and it could go all the way to extra time penalties, and he thinks United will win on penalties. Hopefully, he gets this prediction right as well.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, he is. He obviously he's going to be a little bit biased, but you're right. He was right about the Madrid scenario, so hopefully he's right about this one too. Yeah, God, I really hope they don't win it.
Yeah, and he went into detail about what team he would pick and what tactics he would play. Pretty much the same as what I was saying about packing the midfield, but he went for Rashford and Martial up top. I'm not sure I would go for Martial in the FA Cup final, if I'm being honest. What
Yeah,
about you, Chris?
I don't know, Kyle. I know it is a weird one because, like, it's what we always say about Martial. Martial frustrates me, and actually, he's the kind of player you could see him. Sometimes I think the going gets too tough for him, and he actually, he's likely to be subbed off or get an injury. Often I see that, and I do wonder is it a wee bit psychological. But the one thing, the one thing that I will say about Martial is that he's a good finisher, and he can put away a chance. So maybe, just maybe, that's Rooney's thinking is that, tight game, not many chances, the ball falls to somebody. Martial, for all his flaws, may not run and work hard, but he is pretty good at taking chances. So maybe that's the thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, he strolls around quite a bit, and I don't think he's that valuable when we don't have the ball.
Totally
He
agree.
sometimes he closes people down, sometimes he doesn't, and I just don't think that's good enough in a game against a team like Manchester City, who are all going to be working hard. The whole City team are all going to be working hard, so I don't think we can carry passengers like Martial. I'm afraid.
No, no, I couldn't argue with that rationale. I totally agree with you. Yeah, like I said, just playing devil's advocate for Rooney, thinking maybe that's his thought process. But you're right. I mean, we do need to be working hard, and they will work extremely hard, and they will be unbelievable on the ball, and we can't let them stroll about and and pass around at their leisure. We have to make it difficult for them. So and that come right from the front right to the back. So no, I agree with you, Kyle. I see your logic there. I think it's pretty fair.
So as Bruce says, please like, share, and subscribe, everyone. And Mickey here in the comments says Potty Power has a massive special bet for the cup final. It's a 5 course shot on target, which is 5,000 to one. Not even worth it £1. He says.
Fair play, Mickey. You're not far wrong there, mate. I agree with you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He couldn't. Veghorst couldn't buy a shot on target. Honestly, he could not buy a shot on target. That man, he couldn't. He couldn't hit a barn door. I actually honestly can't believe that he's a striker. I think he should just become a centre back or something. He got the height for it. He's not a striker. Like he can't even hit the target. How can he be a striker? Oh, unbelievable.
And even when he does hit the target, like against Bournemouth, for example, he just hits it into the ground and it bounces up into the keeper's chest. It's
No.
it's just
Oh look, he is
woeful.
honestly probably the worst finisher that I've ever seen from a front man. The worst I've ever seen. I think I texted you, and I think earlier on, Kyle, and I said that he has to be the worst finisher we've ever had at Manchester United as a striker. That is, I've never seen any other striker at Man United who is as bad at finishing as that guy is. He's just dreadful.
I know it's unfortunate that he's not a better player because he's a very likable guy.
He
Um,
is. No, that's it. Yeah, no, not taking anything away from him, but he just, yeah, he just can't. He couldn't finish his dinner.
Now I've been trying to fight the tears back during this show, when I read that Leeds United have been relegated, and it's been tough. It's been emotional. But I think I've just about come to terms with it. What about you?
I can really feel for them. Not really. No, not
um,
yeah. Good news. Good news.
so in the relegation front, it was Leicester and Leeds who went down, and Everton surviving with that goal from Decore. I think at one point I think Leicester were going to survive.
They
Um,
were. They were.
they won their game. They did their bit. Leeds didn't even come close. They were thrashed 4-1 at home by Harry Kane FC, so didn't even come close there.
Yeah, exactly.
So just going to do a rundown of the player ratings now. Some of these should be very high. David De Gea. It's a game where he saved a penalty. I think he made a few other wonderful saves. So he's going to score very high in this one. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. For his performance. If it was a clean sheet, it would probably be a 10. But I think he can give a goalkeeper a 10 out of 10 when it wasn't a clean sheet. Not that I'm blaming him for the goal or anything, but I think you know what I mean.
I think that's
Um,
fair. Yeah, and saving that penalty was give him a nice wee booster there too. Yep,
yeah, it could be something that he'll need to do next week. So uh,
absolutely,
if it
absolutely.
was,
So that could be a wee bit of confidence for him if that needs be. So that might just work out in our favor.
yeah, that could be important. So Diogo Dallo, what would you give him, Chris?
I think a fairly steady seven, Kyle. I think Dollar was all right. I don't think he was amazing. Just what I usually say. You're probably used to my spiels by now, Kyle. Just yeah, I think he was solid enough. Typical from Dallo, in my opinion. I think he could be better. I think he could be much better, but I think he didn't really put a foot wrong. Yeah, I thought he played fairly well.
It looks like he's going to get a new contract, but for me, he's just a squad player. I don't think we can win the league with him at right back. You know.
No, no, exactly. I think that's kind of my feeling about him all the time, and he's just decent. He's not bad, and sometimes there's moments of him that can be pretty good. Looking at some of the right backs and full backs that we've had in Man United down the years, I mean, he doesn't even come close to some of them really. But yeah, he's all right. He's solid enough. like I always say, I feel like Ten Hag is very good at looking at the team overall, and the team's more important than any individual. So maybe he thinks that he can tick in as part of a team, and as long as he doesn't kind of, I don't know, defensively let us down badly, then maybe he's okay. But yeah, I don't think he's top drawer really.
No, I don't think so. Harry Maguire. So I just want I'll allude to what I said earlier. He won his duels with Mitrovic, and his distribution was good for the most part. So I give Maguire a 7. So Victor Lindelof, what would you give him?
Yeah, I think probably 6.5 or 7 for probably maybe a 6.5 for Lindelof. I think he at times I think Mitrovic slightly maybe had the better of him physically. So not didn't look quite as assured as Maguire did in that physical sense. I know Mitrovic is a bit of a bully of a centre forward anyway, so fair enough. But yeah, I thought he was all right. To say I don't think he quite performed as well as Maguire did, but yeah, maybe a 6 or a 6.5. I think probably reasonable.
Yeah, there was one occasion at the halfway line where Mitrovic just shouldered Lindelof out of the way.
Pushed him out of the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, that's exactly that's
Mm.
the moment that I had in my mind. Yeah, exactly.
So Malacia, yeah, I thought it was a solid performance from him. There was one occasion that stuck out in my mind where he won his tackle and then he kept the ball in play. He got up off the turf to keep the ball in play. I thought that was brilliant defending.
So that, yeah, I like Malasia. I have to say, Kat, I like Malasia. I think a 7 for him. I thought he played well. I liked him when he first came in. I thought he was good. Yeah, I've kind of liked him the whole time. I can see there was a couple of games he had where he wasn't so good, and I know he doesn't maybe offer as much as the likes of Luke Shaw does, kind of going forward in bits. But I think there's a good, really good player in there. I quite like him. I have to say,
Again, he's a very good option to have as a squad player at left back, and
absolutely.
Shaw starts all day long
Yeah,
for me.
that's my I feel exactly the same.
Casemiro for me would easily get an 8 out of 10. Another very, very productive and solid display in the centre of the park. But I think he's going to have to be a 9 or a 10 next week in the cup final.
Absolutely, yeah, completely agree.
And Fred, yeah, had one of his better days. And and you could argue he got 2 assists. Really, he probably created. You could say he created both goals, even though only one of them will be an official assist. So I would say an 8 for Fred. Um, Bruno Fernandez, yeah, it was one of his really top days. I think he really produced the goose today. Just so brilliant on the ball. So, probably a most creative player and a lovely finish for his goal. He
Brilliant.
feinted to go around the goalkeeper and then he just dinked it over him.
It was absolutely brilliant. Honestly, it was a world class finish. It really was a world class finish. I mean, if you seen I don't know, Van Nistelrooy or somebody do that back in the day, you'd be just going, "Oh, that's just him. That's just incredible." I mean, Fernandez has that level of quality. He really does. I just think yeah, like him or hate him, he's up. He's an unbelievably talented footballer. He really is. That finish was just, yeah, just so cool, brilliant, just precision, perfect.
So 8 out of 10 for him, I'll say. The only drawback for him is the going down very easily or going down when there's no contact. He needs to cut that out of his game, I think, and then he'd be the perfect player.
Agree.
Um, so Jadon Sancho, what would you give him?
I'm gonna say a 7. Kyle, again, yeah, just what I said about him earlier. I thought he played well. I thought he was really good in moments, but just think you can see more out of him. There was one instance that kind of summed him up actually, where he nutmegged the defender, or the midfield. He nutmegged the Fulham player, and then he lost the ball immediately straight after, and that kind of sums him up in some ways. It's almost there, but just not quite for me. So I think a 7 is probably reasonable.
Yeah, there was times where he would go past one defender with a bit of skill, and then the covering defender would take the ball off him.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately,
just yeah, it's just almost there. I just think there's a wee bit. There's another level that he needs to get to, basically.
yeah, but got his goal, so hopefully that'll give him confidence ahead of the final.
And he took that well. He took that well, I have to say.
So Garnacho, would you give him?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna go for an 8 for Garnacho. Not necessarily even because of his performance, but I guess giving him a bye ball, as I say, given that he's a young lad, and I think that for a player of his that stage of his career, I think he's performing extremely well. So I think I couldn't expect that much more from him. Yeah, okay, a goal maybe would have been nice today, or an assist, but yeah, I think he had a really good game. I think he looked really assured. So yeah, I'm gonna probably maybe higher than his performance deserves, but I like him, so I'm gonna give him an 8.
I'll get to your comment in a second, Ryan Mann. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a 7 for him. Kyle, again, he played well. I thought that he was good. He was bright, like you say. He looked a threat. Just what would have, kind of pushed him up in the ratings. I think would have been to actually get a goal. So unfortunately he didn't manage to get one today. But I thought he played well otherwise. So yeah, I think a 7's probably fair for Rashford.
Yeah, and there were a whole host of substitutes. Really, there was the full five were made, and they were all just kind of preserving players for the cup final. So yeah, some of them were later than others. Yeah, you couldn't really give them a rating. I don't think many of them were on long enough. I think they all did reasonably well. Martial, Vicor, Scott, Palestri, and Ericsson. Palestri showed a bit when he came. He had the least minutes, but there was two counterattacks where he did really well. Um,
Absolutely, he looked really good. For the Veghorst chance that he should have buried, that was Palestri created that really on his own with that absolutely brilliant run. Loads of electric pace and just bursted down the middle of the pitch. So yeah, I thought he did well.
I don't know why he doesn't get more minutes, but that's been a debate for quite a while now amongst supporters. It's um, if we all had one complaint of Ten Hag, that's probably what it would be, that he's
Mm.
not giving Palestri enough minutes, and possibly he have to go out on loan again next season because Ahmad is coming back and the manager's been talking him up, and Anthony is the starter in that position. Sancho can play in that position, so looks like it's going to be difficult for Palessi to get into the team. So he might have to go on loan elsewhere, preferably to maybe a Premier League team, further down the table. And if he could star for one of those teams, then that might increase his chances of one day playing for United in the red shirt. But not looking positive for him at the moment in terms of his United career.
I agree. I think it's just unfortunate that he plays in that position where we have quite a lot of good players in front of him. I think it says more about probably the options that we have and less about him. I think unfortunately, as you say there, Kyle, he would really need to probably kick on a couple of notches. And again, he's only a young guy; he's only 21. But yeah, I think if he's going to solidify a position, he probably have to really blow everybody else out of the way. And right now, that's difficult, and that's a good thing because it means we have good options. So yeah, I could see him going out on loan. Yeah, he looks a super player. He really does. He looks like one to watch. So hopefully he goes somewhere, does really well, gets the confidence up, and comes back and helps benefit United.
So Ten Hag, what would you give him out of 10 today?
I'm gonna go ahead and give him an 8. I don't think he put a foot wrong. I think his selections were good, Kyle. Obviously the result bore that out, and he did well in the sense of he was able to take, like you say, make 5 substitutions. Around sort of 65 odd minutes there, and protect some guys for the final. And still at that point able to see the game out. So yeah, I don't think he put a foot wrong. I don't think he could really criticize much. I don't know what you think.
No, yeah, definitely not. We won the game. I trusted his selections, and he got the crucial players off in the second half to protect them ahead of the cup final. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I think it was a good afternoon for the manager. Um, so just going to come to Ryan's comment there. If the final next week goes to pens, would you change the goalkeeper for it? I know De Gea saved one today, but he's usually hopeless. Didn't save a single one in Europa final or semi final against Brighton. Um, yeah, if we've only made 4 substitutions by the end of extra time, what do you think, Chris? On the basis of
Yeah,
what happened today, would you stick with De Gea or would you bring on Butland for the shootout?
I think it's a really, really great question. Brilliant question, Ryan, man. I have to say, it's a difficult one. I'll be honest with you. If it was me, I think my gut would probably say to substitute him. Um, I noticed on the commentary on the stream that I was watching today that before Mitrovic took his penalty, they actually mentioned that Mitrovic had missed 3 penalties already this year. So actually, you could say in some ways that while it looked an all right penalty and De Gea did well to get to it, you could say that if that was a better penalty taker, he probably wouldn't, because we've seen that so often in the past. So I actually think even his penalty save today needs to be taken with a slight pinch of salt in that context. So yeah, I mean, you and I debate a lot about the hair, Kyle, and well, sometimes we don't always agree. I do generally like him, and I often stick up for him. And I still think that he's a great goalkeeper, and I personally still think he's the man for us right now. But yeah, penalties are definitely not his forte. And I actually think sometimes players stepping up against him when they're taking penalties, the fact that they know how bad he is at penalties probably gives them confidence. And the last thing you want is a confident penalty taker. You know, you want a penalty taker to be nervous. You want them to kind of slip up, for want of a better word. And I'm not sure that Burren having De Gea bearing down on them kind of gives that. So yeah, I think maybe it would be a psychological edge too. Maybe if we switched up come penalties. So I can see the logic for that. I have to say. What do you think yourself?
Yeah, I'm not going to be swayed by one penalty save against a poor penalty taker, like you say.
Exactly.
So I would probably bring on Butland for that shootout. I don't really know what Butland offers in terms of penalty shootouts,
Same,
but
same.
he couldn't be any worse.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say.
Like,
Is I don't even know if he's good at saving penalties, but De Gea I know is not good at saving penalties. So we may as well give the guy a chance and see how it goes. Yeah, totally agree.
yeah, because quite often in shootouts, De Gea just dives out of the way of every penalty.
He
Um,
does. He looks like he's not even trying to save though. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's trying to guess and go early and just constantly guesses wrong, and it looks like he's trying to get out of the way because he's always guessed the wrong way. But for a guy who's so good, this is the thing that I can't understand. I say this to you all the time. I mean, David De Gea's reactions are like a cat. He is lightning fast. He can save. He can save shots from 2 yards out. But for some reason, when it comes to somebody standing on a penalty spot, he never seems to be able to react to get near them. I don't know what it is. I say maybe it's he's trying to guess and go early. He's nearly that good. He shouldn't actually guess at all. He should just wait and try and quickly get to them when he sees what way it's going. Because if anybody can do that, it's potentially him. So yeah, I don't know why he's so bad.
and every goalkeeper nowadays, including him, have it written on their water bottle what direction each player tends to go when they take penalties.
Mm,
There's like I've seen it, I think, on a few of the water bottles. There's like usually for every penalty taker, they have a percentage of times that they go down the middle, percentage they
mm,
go left, percentage they go right. And if it's like 60% down the middle, the keeper will stand still.
mm,
I think Pickford did that in against Leicester. The penalty taker, Madison, uh, some cameraman zoomed in on Pickford's water bottle, and it said that Madison goes down the middle 60% of the time.
right,
So
interesting.
Pickford stood still and just saved it.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's what the hair's. That's what the hair's got to do. And maybe that is what the hair does, is he tries to pick based on that or something. I don't know, but yeah, I just say he needs to do something because like I say, it does baffle me because based on everything else you see about De Gea saving point blank shots would tell you that he should be good at penalty, but he's not. So yeah, I just can't understand it.
Yeah, certainly a progress today in terms of his penalty taking. Although, like you said, there's a caveat with that with
Yeah,
Mitrovic not having a great
that's
record.
it.
I
Yeah,
have to say,
exactly.
I was happy to see Mitrovic step up because usually Willian tucks him away. So I don't know why they made that choice.
I don't know either. I know again on commentary they kind of said, "Oh, fair play to Mitrovic. He's missed a few, but he's got the guts to keep stepping up." And I think maybe somebody should say to him, "I think you can step aside here, son, and let somebody else take it because his record that's now four. I think that he's missed this year. It's not a great record, like so. I think somebody needs to tell him to take a wee seat when it comes to penalties from now on. I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. At least he managed to complete the 90 minutes today and didn't get sent off for per sign referees.
Well, just about no more. There was a couple of
Mhm.
times as always, he's always on the edge. But for the record, I actually do quite like Mitrovic for that reason. He leaves it all on the pitch. I actually do quite admire him, I have to say. But yeah, he's always on the line. Like he's always a bit of a. I actually imagine if he played for somebody like United, he would be sent off more often because yeah, I would imagine just that bit more. Not saying the referees don't favour United or anything, but I think when you're a bit more high profile, people know about you a wee bit more. And I think that some of his behaviour for a bigger club, he would probably be made a bit more of an example of. I think he gets away with it slightly because he plays for a kind of a mid-table club.
Yeah, he was booed today, but he's one of those players that you loathe him if he's against you, and you probably love him if he's on your
Yeah,
team. You know.
yeah. I say the fans a lot. Like I say, I quite like him too. I think he's pretty good. So I can imagine Fulham fans probably love him, understandably.
So moving on to the cup final now, we're just going to do a quick preview of that game. I think we've talked about it many times on the podcast in recent weeks because we've been building up to this game for 6 weeks now. Um, it's kind of been, even though we hadn't got the Champions League spot sewn up until Thursday night there, still the main talking point has been this final, the first ever Manchester Derby FA Cup final. And given what's at stake, it's just a massive game for both clubs. Um, so I'm just going to do my predicted 11. And then we'll get yours. So I think it's going to be De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lindelof, Shaw, Casemiro, Fred, Ericsson, Bruno, Rashford, and Jadon Sancho. I think that'll be the 11 that Ten Hag goes for. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Martial plays instead of Sancho, or Anthony. But at the moment, I think based on what we saw today, I think he'll go with Sancho. So, what's your predicted 11 then, Chris?
I think, to be honest, Kyle, I wouldn't disagree with what you said there. The only thing that I think would change is that he might start Anthony, because Anthony does tend to stretch defenses, and he's quite good at keeping the ball, although sometimes his decision making isn't very good. So and he works extremely hard. I will say that about him. I noticed that even when I was at the Crystal Palace game. Um, how hard he works. So I could see him starting. Bar that, I think you're probably on the money. I think that probably is our best 11 that's available right now. So yeah, I would agree with you. Not copping out, but that I would genuinely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like there's only really one spot up for grabs, because it looks like he'll play four midfielders, especially given that Fred was substituted today. When everyone else that was substituted is one of our big name players, and then Fred was substituted as well. So
Mm.
it looked as if he was protecting them all for next week. So I think it'll be a four midfielders and then two attackers. But I think Bruno will obviously in that situation will play on the right of the attack and obviously drop back a lot whenever City are in possession. Rashford obviously picks himself. So it's just one spot really, and at the moment I would probably make Sancho the favorite. But you're right, Anthony is a favorite of the manager. He's his star signing from last summer. But
Yeah.
I have to say, not been impressed with Anthony in recent games. Kind of gone off the boil a wee bit. Um, After having a purple patch in April. He hasn't really been great of late, so that would concern me. And his one footedness still frustrates me on his decision making. I just think Sancho is slightly ahead of him at the moment. And Garnacho, he could opt for him. Who knows? He hasn't started in many games, but he started him today. He is just a player of quality, and I certainly wouldn't mind it if he started the game. But I think that's probably the outside option,
Yeah.
the outside chance. So probably between Sancho and Anthony. But then you wouldn't be surprised if he started Martial either. Sometimes you're like, you feel as if the manager doesn't really favour Martial, but then he starts games when you don't expect him to. I
Mm.
mean, he was awful against Bournemouth, and then he started the next game against Chelsea. I thought he was terrible against Chelsea. Apart from the goal, which was laid on the platform for the top end from 2 yards by Sancho, I thought his touch was woeful against Chelsea. He was giving the ball away all the time. And my observation after the Chelsea game was that Weghorst has a better touch than Martial.
But
Um,
man, that's really saying something.
that's how bad it was.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, no, yeah, Martial is a strange one. I'm literally we've been talking about him for it feels like forever and saying the same thing forever, and everybody in England, pundits and everybody has been saying the same thing about him since the dawn of time is that he's a wonderful footballer, and he just needs to get his head in the right place and be kind of more, I don't know, ruthless, and just put himself about, and just try and go past players and have a bit more kind of confidence. But he's never done it, and I don't think he's ever going to. I think that's just his personality, whatever it is. He's laid back, or I don't know what it is. But yeah, he's frustrating. But like I said earlier, I do think he's a good finisher, and he's got quality. There's no two ways he's got quality. and he will often take chances, and he's really cool in front of goal. Like I do think he's very cool. He rarely ever rushes a shot or snatches at it, or panics. Like he is good, so I can see why in certain situations maybe he had a good week in training or something, and maybe the manager thinks, oh, he looks like he's up for it this week, and we know he's got quality, so maybe that's why he gets a chance even if he hasn't played well in the previous game. I don't know. Um, but yeah, like you said earlier, Kyle, against Man City, who are going to dominate possession, who are going to be given 110%. Um, we need everybody to be absolutely up for it. And I see, interestingly, there, seeing the Daily Mail, Wayne Rooney saying about Eric Ten Hag, United need to cheat a bit, in quotes, being more like Jose Mourinho's Chelsea would have been difficult to play against. So, based on that, is that something that, not saying the manager's going to do that, of course, but, is that the type of thing that you think Martial would be good at? Is he going to, foul a guy whenever he's on a break if he needs to? I'm not sure that he would. So yeah, see the logic for not starting Martial, but you say I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if he does start.
Yeah, I think Sancho is the favourite at the moment to start that game. I would opt for either Sancho or Garnacho, but I wouldn't be surprised if he selected Anthony or
Mm,
Martial.
same.
So he's plenty of options there to play alongside Rashford in attack. So let's wait and see. Just speaking of dark arts, there, I noticed late in the game, Ericsson kicking the ball away, and one of the Fulham players shoved him in frustration. So even a guy as nice as Ericsson knows how to play the dark arts at times when he needs to.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. That's just football, isn't it? I mean, that was the one thing actually that I talking to a colleague who's a Man City fan that I said gives Real Madrid a chance in every knockout game is because they're good at those dark arts too, as we've seen over the years. Sometimes being the best team isn't enough for you to win big games like cup finals. Sometimes you need to be kind of yeah, streetwise, shall we say. So not saying that United should go out and cheat by any means. I don't think it's in United's DNA, and that's not the type of football you want to see week in, week out at Old Trafford, as we know. But I think sometimes you have to be smart. And in fairness to Fernandez, as frustrating as he can be, I have to say that's one thing that he definitely has down. He knows how to do that, and maybe we do need a wee bit more of that in this game because we need every small advantage we can get, as you know, Kyle.
I don't mind if Bruno Fernandez goes down easily, but there has to be contact. You
I
can't
know,
just.
yeah, yeah. I hate that. I always hated that behavior. And in fairness to Alex Ferguson, that was one thing that I always thought he hated that type of behavior too, and he would have hammered that. He hated players doing that, and players in United squad who came in and did that from the start. You always noticed fairly quickly that they cut it out of their game because the manager just didn't like it. Maybe Ten Hag doesn't quite feel as strongly about it, or maybe it's just because Fernandez kind of does his own thing because he's kind of the star of the show in many ways. But yeah, I don't like that seeing that stuff. I don't think you need to do it. Yes, you need to be crafty and streetwise in certain games at times, but I do think that Fernandez doesn't help himself, and yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. I think sometimes whenever you see people go down that easy, it just doesn't look good.
So prediction time for the FA Cup final. Um, I know we're massive underdogs. That's clear. I mean, just looking at the betting here on odds checker, City are 11 to 21 on to win the match, 4 to 1 the draw, and United are 27 to 5 to win this game. So long enough odds for a two-horse race there.
Mm,
Um, but um, I'm going to go along with what Wayne Rooney said. I think we'll make this competitive. We might take this all the way to extra time penalties. My prediction is that United will win on penalties. So, what is your prediction then, Chris?
yeah, I'll go along with that, Kyle, because I would just love to see that happening. I can't see us winning the match outright in the 90 minutes. Maybe we will, doubtful. So I would take extra time and penalties. I cannot see City not scoring. I just can't imagine they don't score. So I'm gonna say one each in the 90 and then extra time and penalties. I just can't see City not scoring. And I hope, yeah. I hope they don't, but I can't see it. So yeah, I'll go one each and then extra time penalties.
I think you're right. I can see City scoring more than once. To be honest with you,
Well, I can't. I can't too. Yeah, you're right.
I think we'll have to score at least twice probably
Yeah,
to draw this game.
yeah, you're probably not
Um,
wrong. Probably not wrong.
on set pieces, maybe an opportunity for us to score, and hopefully we can get a moment of quality from one of our superstars as well.
It won't.
Um,
It won't be Veghorst, that's for sure.
no, with a bit of luck, he'll not be playing in the game. Um, yeah, and the goalkeeper's going to be needed probably during the 120 minutes and in the penalty shootout as well if we get it that far.
Yeah.
And if it's shootout, I would probably opt for Butland or Tom Heaton or whoever's on the bench to give us a better chance of winning that, because even though in recent penalty shootouts the penalty taken from United has been excellent,
Has
just
been.
the keeper's not been saving any penalties. And even to win against Brighton, we had to rely on Solly March putting his penalty over the crossbar.
I know.
So, but we're going to need someone to make a save, and no doubt they'll prepared for penalties as well, and
Of
they've got
course.
excellent penalty takers throughout their team. Um, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Holland can all take a good penalty, and Mahrez as well, although he has missed a couple. So yeah, they could go a long way in the shootout if the hit is in that. So I would definitely change the goalkeeper if we haven't made all five subs at that point.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we get absolutely hammered. Um,
No. Same.
but I'm going to be, positive as a fan, and think that we'll keep it tight, and we'll take it all the way at penalties. One thing I will say is that I think we need to score first. If City were to score early, I
Mm,
think the floodgates could open.
yeah.
Um,
I think you're right. I think you're right. And considering how they dominate the ball and dominate possession, if we're chasing the game against them, I think it's forget about it. I think that it opens us up even more, and then opens the floodgates even further. So you're right, Kyle. I think we need to take the initiative and try and get a goal first, whether it's early or whenever it comes. I think you're right. Gives us a little bit of a cushion, and also, changes the dynamic of the game slightly. We don't then have to be as open, because we're not chasing it. So I agree with you. I think we need to score first.
I know under Mourinho we were 2-0 down against City at the Etihad, and we won the game 3-2. But generally, whoever scores first in the derby wins the game. So
Yeah.
that's going to be vital, I think.
And I think, was that the day that it was kind of the Paul Pogba show? Was that the day that
Yes,
Pogba
yes, that's
had
right.
an
Yeah,
absolute blinder? Probably the best game I ever seen him have in a United shirt. I remember that. I think he almost single handedly won that game for us, to be honest. So yeah, and you can't rely on somebody to come up and have a worldly performance like that all the time. So we can't be relying on, yeah, exactly, on hoping for somebody to do that. Yeah,
and I think Alexis Sanchez had a good game that day as well. It was a day of rarities, let's
that's
say.
definitely a clicker's head on that. Not me. I didn't even remember that he had a good game. I didn't think he had any good games for United. So that fair enough, he had one that day. It's definitely the only one.
And Chris Smalling scoring from a set piece in that game as well. We've
Ah,
seen that a few times. Smalling continues to do so for Mourinho out in Rome.
yes,
Um,
yes. Mourinho seems to like Smalling. Yeah, Smalling's he's done very well out there. Yeah, he's done brilliant. Good on the guy.
yeah, it certainly has. And they're in another European final. Then Mourinho just keeps winning European trophies, and won't be surprised if he wins another one. And again, typical Mourinho semi-final, where they're 1-0 up from the home leg, the away leg they play for 0-0 and they get 0-0.
Yeah, if he doesn't do anything else, he knows how to get over the line, doesn't he? Like you have to give him that. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I love the guy when he's not managing United. When he's at United,
no,
you want United have a tradition of entertaining fans and with attacking football. He just doesn't do that. So that
no.
was the issue there.
I know. I think by the time we talked about the death, I think by the time Mourinho came in, it was a case of the entertaining football isn't winning anything. Would you would just go for pragmatism for a wee while just because we want to try and get some silver? We're in fair play to him. He won the Europa League
well,
for us. So yeah,
well, Ten Hag has showed that both can be achieved.
totally agree.
Um, Now he's probably exceeded expectations already, even before the cup final. He already has one trophy in the bank. We finished third in the Premier League. If you and we're in the FA Cup final, so it could be possibly two trophies and a third place finish. If you just said that to
That's
me back
great.
when we lost 4-0 to Brentford in August, I'd have said no chance,
I
none.
know. Same. I was just thinking exactly the same thing at the end of the match today. I was thinking exactly that. Kind of thinking he has done an unbelievable job this year. He really has. I mean, the progress has been monumentous. It really has been. And the thing that I love about him the most is, he won't even be close to being satisfied. Even if we win the FA Cup final, he'll go, nah, nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. Need to win the league, need to win the Champions League. That's what it's in his mind. And that's what I love about him, that he himself will be grounded enough to go, he won't be patting himself on the back, like Mourinho tends to do, and going, this is my greatest achievement. He'll be going, nah, not remotely happy. It's not enough. And that's what I like about him. I think he himself knows this is just a starting point to kick on, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. Very much looking forward to next season, regardless of what happens at Wembley. And we're expecting an ownership change at any moment, and then hopefully we'll have the cash to bring in the players that Ten Hag wants in the summer. And as usual, we've been linked with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in European football. Um,
Of course, the papers just love it, don't they? Manchester United, plenty of clicks on their website, etc., etc. Just link you with everybody they can think of, and get a few clicks. Yep, I know it's just what is it you call, Kyle? Silly season, is it you call it, or you always call it? Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
yeah, I've heard Gary Neville use that phrase a few times, and he's not wrong. But the links to Mason Mount have been strong, and there's been
Seem to be.
a bit of a split in the fan base as to whether they're happy enough with that or not. Some of them definitely don't want them, and some are happy with that signing. I think he's a better player than people realize.
He's a great
I think
player. I've literally, and every time I watch Mason Mount, and I'm not just saying this now, he's like United. I'm always impressed. I always think that wee lad's got ability. He's fast. He's good on the ball. Again, good decision making. He's brilliant. He's a good player. He's a good footballer.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a good footballer.
forget this season because Chelsea were horrendous in general.
Exactly.
But last season, Mason Mount had 11 goals and 10 assists for Chelsea last season. So on his stats were getting better year on year. Apart from this season, which obviously was a disaster for Chelsea in general. So, and he's 36 England caps and 5 goals for England. So you don't get 36 caps for England if you're a dud. And this is an England team that's been getting to the latter stages of tournaments. So yeah, I think he's a quality player. I think he's what is happening at Chelsea is that they spent 600 million in the transfer market. They've got a bloated squad, and they've got a massive wage bill. They're not going to offer him the same money that they offered to Reece James in the. I think they recently gave him 250k, and Mount wants parity with Reece James, and they're not going to pay him that, so
Mm,
he's going to end up having to leave.
looking elsewhere.
And
Yeah,
United, and the fact that United, Liverpool, and Arsenal all want him, and that speaks volumes as well.
absolutely.
So I wouldn't be against that signing. If Ten Hag thinks that he's important to the project, then I'm on board with that. There's no point in us trying to get De Jong again because I know there's no confirmation of this, but I am convinced that Frankie De Jong's wife does not want to live in Manchester. Um,
You're
j-
probably
just
right.
just recently on that, Emmanuel Petit said that he would have joined Manchester United, only his wife wanted to live in London. There's a surprise.
Yeah, I know. So wasn't it Roy Keane used to say it all the time? Do you remember he used to say it about, was it when he was Sunderland manager? Was it he said it, and he used to always, he got really angry about it. But it is a fact. And look, I mean, if you think of football as a job, you know what I mean, and it's like anybody, it affects your family when you have to uproot and leave. And I understand that when someone's in a place and they're happy and the family's happy, I understand they don't always want to leave. And it's easy as fans to say, oh, you should always just make the football decision. So I get that sometimes that doesn't happen. But I mean, Frankie De Jong, to be honest, for me, has been badly mistreated by Barcelona. I think they've slapped him in the face, on both cheeks. And I mean, if I was him, I think I would be looking to leave. And we're a better place to come than work with Eric Ten Hag again at Manchester United when he's building something. So I personally think he should want to come to United. But yeah, you're right, Kyle. Sometimes giving people their dues, family can be more important. Obviously, football's only a game or whatever, or a job. So yeah, so fair enough. But I think for footballing reasons, the United is a good destination for him. And like I say, Barcelona have treated him badly, in my opinion. I don't know why we want to stay unless it was for personal reasons.
Yeah, they accepted the bid, Barcelona, last summer, but the player still didn't leave, and I think that's because the Barcelona owe him so much money, and he's going to sit there until they pay him the money that he's owed.
Yeah, fair enough. And you can understand that too, I guess. He's just saying, no, I'm not gonna let you kind of get away with what you're kind of doing. So I can understand. But I mean, he can't be happy in that scenario. Nobody can be happy in that scenario. He knows the club wants rid of him. He's digging his heels in.
Well,
It just can't be a good situation for anybody.
well, it's complicated because the manager rates him and wants him, but the board don't. So it's a strange one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from a United perspective, though, I don't want a saga that's going to drag on for 100 days during the summer.
Same. It's distracting, and I mean, I know that Ten Hag sees him as a very important player in his plan, and I understand that. So fair enough. I get why, we're heavily linked with him and why Ten Hag wants him. But I mean, he's not the world's greatest footballer. He's not going to win the Ballon d'Or next year. So I like to believe that there's somebody else who can come in and do that same job. As an alternative. But I understand Ten Hag thinks he's very important, but you're right, Kyle. I don't want to see a saga dragging on all throughout the summer. We're going to have a saga with the ownership scenario, regardless. So it's already been a saga. We don't need another saga about a transfer. Flip me, please don't do that. So yeah, I don't think anybody wants
Well,
to see that.
whether it's De Jong or not, you can guarantee United will be involved in a saga this summer.
Yeah, you're right. There's because it's always because that's it. As soon as Manchester United's linked with a player, everything changes. They want more money and they want this and they want that and they will hold out and it's just we never seem to just be able to get deals done easily, quickly, and seamlessly. It always, yeah, you're right, Kyle. If it's anything, it always seems to be a complete saga for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
and don't get involved in the Harry Kane transfer because
Another one I'm not interested in.
so what I was reading from the Athletic, I think it was, um, is that the United that Tottenham want now. Keep in mind he has 1 year left on his contract. Tottenham want upwards of 100 million for a player who has 1 year left on his deal. That is absolutely absurd. Do not get involved in that.
That is a Daniel Levy demand. If ever I saw a Daniel Levy demand, that is absolutely ridiculous. And what age is Harry Kane? I'm not saying that
He's
he.
30 in July.
No, why would you pay 100 million for a player who's 30? He's a great footballer. He's an absolute guaranteed goal scorer. I totally get the appeal, but a player of his age, um, yeah, he's starting on the downslope now. He's at that stage. And I just think it's ridiculous. I
Yeah,
just think we should look elsewhere.
if you're paying 110 million for Harry Kane, at that point you might as well just pay the 150 million euro for Victor Osimhen, who's 6 years younger.
Exactly, Kyle. Absolutely. Why buy a player, who's 30 and is like to say his career is now starting to come down the other side of the mountain. He's at the peak. He's gonna start going down. Why throw 100 million at that? Like you say, invest that money in a younger player who you're gonna get 5 or 6 great years out of. Not some guy that maybe going to do it for a couple of years and then he'd probably be ready to move on again. I just don't see it. I just don't see the point of it. If he was coming at a cheaper price, you would say, okay, maybe it's worth a punt, but you're not going to break. You don't want to blow your entire summer's transfer budget on Harry Kane. I just think that's a poor investment.
I think the striker we'll sign will be somebody completely unexpected now, to be honest with you, because I think we're going to be priced out of the big names.
Mm,
So it might be someone a bit left field or someone a bit younger, but we definitely need to recruit in that position because Martial's come to the end of his United career. Weghorst has played his last game at Old
mm.
Trafford, so it's an area where I mean you only have to look at United's goal difference to see where we've struggled this season, and we have to address that.
You're absolutely right. There's nobody. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody right now that you could look at and say that is the player that will guarantee us goals. You don't even Rashford can be hit or miss as we said. Sometimes he's very prolific, other times he's not. He has purple patches and not so good patches. And yeah, I agree with you. I think I mean last season as we talked at length, Kyle. Central midfield was the position we said that's where we need to recruit, and I think while we didn't maybe buy this single player, a Declan Rice or whatever that we talked about we would need, Ten Hag has managed to address that by bringing in Casemiro and and bringing in Ericsson, and he's managed to get a tune out of that part of the field, whether it's because of one player or multiple players. So yeah, you're right. I think the next thing has to be a striker. My only question to you, and maybe this isn't an area you were going to go into, but and maybe being a little bit facetious, but is goalkeeper an area that you think we need to address now, as was talked about very recently with De Gea? Or do you think that are we is De Gea okay for now, or how do you feel about that?
Uh, it's a difficult one. De Gea's been in negotiations for a long time now. There's still been no announcement, and he's out of contract at the end of the season. So there is a possibility that he could just be released.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if he stays on, it'll be at a reduced wage, and he might not be guaranteed the number one spot next season. It's all up in the air. I mean, there is the possibility he could be number one next season. There is the possibility that Henderson could be given another go, and then there could be another recruit could come in and be number one or be the understudy, like Bart Verbruggen, the Anderlecht goalkeeper, who's Dutch. Um, we've been linked with him, and you can see why. I mean, I was I was looking at an analysis of him, including videos. He looks to be a great shot stopper, but great with his distribution as well. And he's very young goalkeeper.
That's interesting.
Could have a long career ahead of him. So I think what will happen now, anything can happen, like I said, but I think the most likely scenario at the moment is that De Gea will remain number one for one more season at least, and maybe someone like Bart Verbruggen would come in and play the cup games or European games, and De Gea will slowly be phased out. And if this guy impresses, then he'll become the number one in 1 or 2 years. Because I don't think we're going to go out there and spend 70 million on a new goalkeeper. I don't think we have the budget for that this summer, because the majority of it has to go on a striker. So I think that's the most likely scenario. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Henderson's given another go. But let's see.
Mm. I think you're right. That I think you've summed that up very well. I think you're probably right. Yeah, I don't see De Gea going anywhere right now. I think yes, whenever he goes through those moments where he does stupid things, everybody just wants to slam him, and understandably, it's very frustrating. But I think overall, and given the fact that actually, yeah, I know it comes down to the defenders too, that he actually had the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season. I'm saving was 17. I don't think that it's an area that you would turn around and say we absolutely have to make a change this year. I don't think that's the case. I think there is, like you said, a striker for me is just a higher priority. But I think that it does seem that overall, I think De Gea is slightly on that decline in terms of his United career. So I think you're right. I could see him slowly starting to phase out, but I don't think it's going to happen immediately
I don't
unless
see a
he still wants to
scenario.
go.
I don't see a scenario where Henderson and De Gea are both let go. I think because we're probably only going to recruit a young goalkeeper or someone who's not top level at the moment. So I don't see us having a complete overhaul of the goalkeeping department.
Yeah.
I think at least one of those senior keepers will stay. That De Gea or Henderson. I
Mhm.
think I'm not sure what he's going to do with Heaton or Butland either. We're so stacked in the goalkeeper department, and yet we don't have one who everyone agrees is the way forward.
No. We don't. We don't. You're right, and that's what makes me think that, as you said, we will make a change. In the next year or two because of that very reason. We've always had over the years. And any successful club always has a really solid number one, and we don't have the perfect number one, so to speak, right now. So I think eventually we will have to try and find that person.
There's also the chance that Bart Verbruggen could come in and start in August, and De Gea could be on the bench. Um, but even if that doesn't happen, I still think the young goalkeeper, if it is him, will be given a chance at some point to dislodge De Gea. We might see a kind of a De Gea Anders Lindegaard situation, next season. But I'm not always in favour of that. I like having a number one goalkeeper and maybe a keeper who plays in the League Cup. Um, I don't like the rotating the goalkeepers. Um, but what I would do with Henderson, if Nottingham Forest offer us 30 million, I would snap their hand off. Because as we know, we need to sell to buy this summer. I think we've got 100 million. and to start off with, and the rest of the money is going to have to come from sales, especially due to FFP. Uh, so yeah, I would accept the money for Anderson. That's a really good offer, I feel.
I agree with you. My gut tells me that it's just not going to happen really at United for Henderson the way he would want it to happen. I mean, he's got a lot of confidence, and that's not a bad thing at all. And I think he had hoped or thought that perhaps last season that De Gea was making enough mistakes that now was his time was kind of coming, and that he might take over that number one spot and be the number one goalkeeper for United, which is I think what he wanted. But I just don't think that's probably never going to happen. And he himself certainly doesn't want to be a kind of a number two, or sit around and wait. And I understand that. I think he is too good to just be an understudy. I think he's good enough to start for somebody, but I don't think it's going to be at Old Trafford. So like you said, Kyle, I think he himself uh, will probably want to go, unless he thinks that the head's going to go and he's going to replace him. But I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I think we should take the money for him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's been a marathon podcast today, 1 hour and 20 minutes. If everyone could please subscribe to the channel, get your thoughts in down below, and smash us a wee like on the video. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the show again, Chris.
Kyle, I've enjoyed it as always. Yep. This will be the first of a few over the summer, I'm sure. So yep, it's been great to chat, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Maybe not me and Chris, but we will be back next week with a FA Cup final show, and no doubt me and Chris will be back on throughout the summer to talk transfers and talk pre-season. So I'll catch you later then, Chris.
Yeah, take care, Kyle. Have a good one, mate.
All right, see you later.